Time again for another Panther Podcast Weekly. This is Todd Bell. We're happy that you are with us here for this week as we will take a look at the Ohio Dominican baseball team. You can find our Panthers Weekly podcasts at youtube.com and then search Ohio Dominican Athletics. You can also find them on our website at ohiodominicanpanthers.com. Chris Antonides is the head baseball coach at ODU. He is in his fourth season that was cut very short, very abruptly back in March. Chris, it's glad to be joined by you here. And boy, how are things at home for you right now? And what is a new world for all of us at this point?
Sure. No, things are really, they're great here at home. Definitely it's a new routine. My wife is still working, so she's fortunate to have, for me to have time at home with the kids. So we have Aiden is 4.5 and Colleen's almost 2. So it's definitely some eventful days. But this time worked out pretty well. So they're both in quiet time right now, and we're shooting for about 2 hours of sleep, and I get quite a bit of work done during this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see you're outside, so you're able to enjoy the outside. They're able to sleep and stay quiet, and you're spending a lot more time with the kids at this time of the year than you typically would expect to.
Oh, certainly. But it's been great. So we move around, we do different activities every day, something inside, something outside, and a lot of bike rides. And we're getting close to getting the training wheels off. So it's been quite a bit of fun. So just trying to utilize it. And it's something different, and, a lot more family meals than we've ever had, and especially this time of year.
Yeah.
And,
outstanding. Well, let's talk about the baseball season that was again cut very short. I want you to walk me kind of through the timeline. Your team was in Wilson, North Carolina. You were on spring break. You had gotten 5 games in that spring break visit down there in Wilson. You were getting ready to play Trevecca Nazarene for a handful of games before heading back to Columbus. What happened then?
Right. That whole week, we got on the bus, and I think that's when the news kind of started to head down to Wilson. The news started, this is a pretty serious virus, and, it was coming to the United States. But still, if you would have told me we played our last game on Tuesday, I think versus Catawba, and we didn't think that's what was going to happen.
Right.
We're not allowed to bet for NCAA purposes, but I wouldn't have bet money. We wouldn't have been able to play that day. Coming up through the Trevecca series, and things accelerated, and obviously you see things jump on the TV, and I think when the NBA shut down, that was like, all right, this isn't good. So it was very unfortunate, and we had some tough conversations as a team and a program at night in the hotel. And unfortunately, we didn't get the final news until we were on the bus on the way home. So that was pretty much a challenge, but it also gave us an opportunity to speak a little more individually and one-on-one with those guys as well.
Chris, it was amazing how rapidly everything changed. We went from, okay, we're going to extend spring break for the students at Ohio Dominican, and then come back to online classes. We'll see how it goes for 3 weeks and then go from there to before we even got them back to the online classes, we had shut everything down for the remainder of the year and going strictly to online classes. And that's kind of how it was for your baseball team as well. Certainly.
And from the information, and I do appreciate the work that Jeff and the conference put in and trying to, hey, let's see, is there anything that we can, give a little bit more of an experience, and we're just trying not to cut the cord right away. And unfortunately, it was too much, and, weren't able to hang on with that.
And very disappointing as well because you had finished second overall in the GMAC the previous season. You were picked first in the GMAC East Division in the coaches poll coming into the season. I know you guys had a lot of expectations once you got to the conference portion of your schedule this year.
No, certainly, and that's what was disappointing. And you saw, if you had been able to watch us play, obviously we didn't get to play at home at all this year, and we were continuing to grow, as the 13, 15 games went on, and I think we were just starting to learn, and we had a really unique group of old and young, and all in vital parts. And as we continued to grow, and it was exciting to see, I think it was going to be a really good matchup with Trevecca, and then just jump starting us into the conference play. And and that's where I don't think our identity was found by any means, and you just want to keep going. And so it was good that the NCAA was also going to give us some opportunities for some seniors to be able to come back, and some of them, four or five so far have already decided that they're going to come back with us. And so I know we're not done yet, and just going to continue to grow with them.
All right, we'll talk about that in just a moment. Sure. I want to go back to one thing where you said you were just trying to find your identity. It's so hard for the spring sports seasons, the stick and ball teams, the baseball and softball, because fans, I don't think, realize when your players come to campus in August to start school, you guys are able to start coaching. You have X amount of hours during the week that you're able to have workouts, individual stuff. And there's a lot of time and energy from the middle of August when you come to campus before you start playing games in February. And most of it's done indoors. It's hard. Some of the fall you can be outside, but in that wintertime, it's all indoors. It's hard to really get your season going and figure out who you are till by the time it's the middle portion of your season.
Certainly. And we are fortunate that, we are able to utilize being in Columbus. We go to the Bow Dome. And we went there 4 or 5 times, and some of it is limited, but we get to go, play live inter squads with ourselves, get to do the base running and put in our team defense and work from there. And as it feels like we've had the warmest spring, ever up to this point. So actually the weekend before we opened up in Missouri, we went down to Chillicothe and had another large inter squad, and so, and again, you still don't know what you have, and the guys get, they do get tired of competing against each other day in and day out, because we've done that for 7 months at that point, I believe, but it still continued to, as they were growing together and just little things and just starting to understand the game. And that's where having the good mix of seniors and freshmen that were all on the field, that, the seniors were teaching those guys and help leading the way with them.
So let's go back to what you were mentioning a moment ago. For those who don't follow NCAA sports maybe that carefully and understand, the NCAA very quickly came out and said for the spring athletes and across the board in all sports, they were going to waive this year that they had already used up. Now, ordinarily, if a player had gotten or just stopped playing at this point of the season, or maybe only played a handful of games, he would have lost a year of eligibility. But the NCAA has waived that this year, allowing seniors the opportunity to come back if they choose, like you mentioned, but even for the freshmen through the juniors. How is that going to work out for your baseball team? I'm sure there's a lot of logistics that you're having to work through this right now with scholarships and everything at this point.
Right. I mean, it's definitely going to be a work in progress, and just trying to keep that line of communication open, as we continue to go. The one thing that I think that does help us at the Division II level, and some with recruiting, that we are always making community recruiting contacts as we're going through, but a lot of kids don't decide to go to Division II right away, and it's something down the line. So we are still adding guys for this upcoming, fall semester. So some of that was a seamless blend, of having those guys that decided to come back. And as we continue to move forward, I think we'll have a pretty good idea, who's going to return for those extra years and who won't. But I'm excited they get to have another year of Ohio Dominican experience, overall, both academically and baseball, I think it is really fortunate for them.
So how are you recruiting right now? This is not the easiest process in the world. I know that a lot of dates have changed. A lot of what you can and can't do has changed. Obviously, you're not going out and watching kids play in their high school tournaments, or even this upcoming summer. There's still question mark if kids are going to be able to get on the field at all this summer. What is the recruiting process for you right now, for you and your staff?
Right. Obviously, it has changed to some degree. We're used to getting out of practice and going to watching games, or, if our game, we have a single game, might get down early, we're going to go catch this game before it's over. But we don't get to do that a ton of games right now. Our dedication is try to make sure that we're hands-on with our players at all times. Not getting to watch too many games right now isn't a huge thing, because so much of baseball recruiting has gone online, that we can get videos and we can get a lot of things, and you can see some of the intangibles, but we can't see, how guys compete. So there are some question marks that we have open. But at this time, we can still identify a lot and just be able to help use the virtual resources that our missions has used and other videos and things that we have of our facilities. And, one other thing that is concerning as we move forward, but has been a really positive for us is we've been trying to host as many games as possible during the last couple summers. So a lot of kids we've talked to, hey, I played on your field 2 years ago or 3 years ago during this tournament. So I think we've done a really good job, and Coach Hall's done a great job of reaching out and continuing that line of communication, those relationships with guys, right now to, it's not a complete start from scratch every time we reach out to somebody right now.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that we've done a great job at ODU when it comes to basketball time. The men's and women's teams host the boys and girls district and regional tournaments. There's plenty of summer camps that go on. And I know you have not only the high school baseball tournaments, but a lot of local summer teams will play at ODU as a home field. So as you're saying, you're giving younger kids kind of that experience to think about, maybe, hey, I do want to play at Sunbury Road.
Right. No, and that's what, once you walk down the hill, you're going to remember walking down or back up after the game, but so I think it's a really unique experience. So, that's something we want to be able to continue to share. And we're working with some of the tournaments that may not be able to be hosted this June, push them into later July or August, prior to our guys getting back on campus. So, it's something, again, that, it's just part of the whole experience, and we want guys to, and their families to enjoy, hey, remember that time we went to Ohio Dominican? So we've had a really good thumbprint so far.
I imagine the field right now, with as much rain and warm weather and lack of play, it's probably never looked any better than it does right now.
It hasn't. Dan Riley and his crew have done an outstanding job of maintaining that and filling in those other areas that, they're usually getting worn down. And, there's no tarp stress or anything else going on. And, we just had finished fundraising from some of the other projects, and we just put a new backstop in as well. So we had a whole new netting system put in, and we're not going to be able to get to use it for a little bit of time. So, but it's a beautiful, beautiful setting.
So in other words, that path between the dugout and the pitcher's mound that you wear out during it's okay right now, right?
No, it's in great shape right now. So it's in great shape.
We're going to speak coming up here in our podcast to one of your young outfielders in Thomas Staub, who had a really, really good freshman season for you. Tell us a little bit about him and maybe a couple of the other guys on the team that you're having some big hopes for this year.
Sure. Thomas is a very dependable guy, and he's a great teammate for us. And and he struggled to begin this season, and we just continue to put our arm around him and encourage him, and he started to come out of it. And, just a guy that he can reach out to anybody. And, one of the biggest goals for our team and our standards for our team is you must be a great teammate. And Thomas definitely identifies as a great teammate for us. And, obviously very talented as well. And, started quite a few games as a freshman and is going to continue to be a big part of our future moving forward.
And one guy that I was looking forward to watching play was our great wide receiver football player in Corey Cantini. And I know he had a great fall for you last year, and I was so looking forward to seeing him play in the outfield and leading off and stealing bases and making great catches, and it just never came to fruition. But what an interesting story that Corey Cantini ended up being.
Oh, certainly. And you couldn't ask for a better kid, a better teammate, and a better family as well. And again, that's the whole part of our picture and what we're trying to go after when we recruit. He fit that mold and he just continued to help lead us from day one. And it was neat to hear him, talk and just play with a lot of passion. And you have to go back and see. You can find on the GLVC network, and he put some work in. You'll be able to see some things and surprise some umpires from time to time on how fast he was and getting down the line. And so it's definitely something that we're going to miss. But it was neat to see for the handful of games that we had, and we're fortunate to be able to spend the fall with him last year as well.
Yeah, outstanding. Chris, thanks so much for the time. Enjoy the great day that we have in Central Ohio here today, and hopefully for all of us, we'll be out on a baseball diamond sooner rather than later.
Certainly. Well, we appreciate it, Todd. Thanks for everything that you do.
That's fourth-year head baseball coach Chris Antonides joining us here on our Panthers Weekly podcast. Coming up next, we'll visit with sophomore outfielder Thomas Staub as our Panther Podcast Weekly continues.
Now's the perfect time to pursue your master's degree at Ohio Dominican University.
My master's degree in healthcare administration fit in perfectly with my full-time work schedule. I was able to advance my career, and the content applied directly into my day-to-day working experiences.
ODU's graduate programs in business, healthcare administration, and education can be completed 100% online or on campus. Apply now at ohiodominican.edu/grad.
Our Panther Podcast Weekly continues. This is Todd Bell. We are continuing our trip with the Ohio Dominican baseball program. After speaking with Coach Antonides, I'm happy to bring in a sophomore outfielder with the baseball program, Thomas Staub. Thomas, thanks for spending some time with us here today. I know right now you're taking a little break from work, so I'm imagining you're finding something to do here in your downtime.
Yes, finding something to keep myself busy. In the same boat as everyone else.
How about online classes for the second semester? I imagine that was something you had to do for the very first time, and you wrapped things up probably last week, maybe a couple of things you still had to do this week. How did that go for you?
It went good. The last, 2 weeks has kind of been hectic with finals going down and trying to do an online version of finals going down. And so I'm officially a junior.
Okay, congratulations on that. You're still officially a sophomore when it comes to athletics because of the way things happen, and possibly you can use that extra year on down the road. But let's talk about what happened this season. You had such a great year last year as a freshman coming in, hit .315. You were fourth in the conference in stolen bases. How about yourself personally, and then even as a team? What were your expectations coming into 2020?
Well, I think I was just kind of trying to, ride the same boat that I was coming in with the year before. I knew that we lost a lot of key players with the seniors that we had, but we also had a lot of key players coming back. And so kind of just progress and increase what I had and try to bring as much as I can to the table for the team.
You guys were on spring break when obviously this all kind of hit at once. Take me through what you guys were talking about as a team, and once you got the word from coach that, hey, we're packing up and heading north, and then by the time you got home, the season was canceled.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, talk about a stressful 48 hours that time. Looking back, we were at spring break. We were in the hotel. I think it was a Wednesday. We were supposed to play that out from the night before. The field wasn't playable, so we had that day off. And the next day, we also had a day off, a scheduled day off. And then we were supposed to play a Friday-Saturday conference series. And Wednesday was kind of that afternoon and evening was when schools started to close, and we started to see, Ivy League schools closing and spring sports season ending, and kind of all just watching this on our phones, not really knowing anything about it, not really thinking that it's going to happen to us. And then the next day on Thursday, we had a whole off day, and it was just the whole day of kind of just holding our breath and hoping for the best with our phones, just watching the updates. We saw Ohio State, the campus shut down, and they moved to all online classes. So that was kind of like, we were like, well, probably happened to us too because the school's right next to us. So it was just a really stressful time, and I think the worst part about it was that we could do nothing about it. There was no way to prepare us for that. It was kind of just as at the the discrepancy of the officials, official decisions and the NCAA decisions, and so we kind of had a team meeting, and the official decision was made that the season is currently canceled at the moment. And it sucked because, you're planning on starting a conference series. You're planning on starting conference play on Friday. The season, if we're even going to play or not, or if the season's going to be over, it's kind of just a huge thing to take in, a big pill to swallow. And it was really hard. I think for me and for some of the younger guys, it was kind of just a shock and kind of like, it sucked because we worked so hard for that season, but we knew that we had more seasons to come. And personally, I really felt most for the seniors. And because the work that they put in, and to have it stripped away like that with, nothing really left for them to say, it was kind of just really hard. It was generous that we were all given an extra year of eligibility, but, if you had jobs lined up for the summer or, the following year you had different places to be, then it's kind of, an unfortunate decision. So
Yep.
Yeah, it sucked, but we're all in it together, and as a team, we kind of just had to lock arms and take one step forward.
Certainly going to be a learning experience and something that you'll be able to tell your kids many, many years from now that this experience that you've gone through. Well, let's talk about when Thomas was a kid. A big family, lots of brothers and sisters, a baseball family. You grew up in Belleville, Ohio, which is about an hour north of Ohio Dominican's campus, just south of Mansfield, at Clear Fork High School, where it's been a very good baseball program for a number of years now. You had 2 opportunities, I believe it was a sophomore and junior, to play in the state semifinals. And not only that, but you played for a head coach that was your dad and a head coach that was your brother. What was the experience like there?
That was, I'll tell you what, I am very, very fortunate to be able to say that I was coached by my father as well as my brother. And I think high school was such a crucial time for that, because that's where a lot of, development happens physically as well as mentally for the game. And to be able to have not only 2 great people, but 2 great coaches, and to be able to mold me and develop me into who I want to be and the baseball player that I needed to be in order to make it to the next level. I just have nothing but gratitude for both of them. And I'm just really thankful for the experience. And not many people, like I said, are able to say that they could do that. But I was fortunate enough to be able to. So,
which one was harder to play for?
Harder to play for? I would probably say my father, because he was the hardest on me amongst the team. And so, it's. He meant well by it, obviously. You want to be able to be hard on your players to develop them. But I think with my brother, it was we were closer in age, and we it just had that brother bond. And it was kind of just more of like a fun time to play with him. So both
obviously
with your great, though.
Well, sir, absolutely. But with your father, you're going home with it as well. At least your brother, if you're mad at each other, you can escape it for a minute.
Exactly.
Yep.
There were many long nights at the dinner table of why it was that I went 0 for 4, why I swung at ball 4, all sorts of things like that. But it was all good. All good.
Absolutely. Well, it's turned into a great opportunity for you to play Division II college baseball. How are you staying in touch with your teammates right now? And what do you expect for this program moving forward, knowing that there's so many questions right now that still are out there to be answered?
Yeah. I think we're all in the same boat of kind of just holding our breath and, keeping in touch, like you said, through social media and texting, but kind of just holding our breath and hoping for the best for the fall. What sucks right now is that no one really knows what the future is going to hold. Only time will be able to tell. And so we kind of there's been schools that have already shut down their following season. There have been schools that have shut down completely for, academic purposes and athletic purposes. So hopefully that would not happen for us, but, we're just holding our breath and hoping that in a few months we're going to be able to even be back on campus.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully we will. All right, those were the easy questions, Thomas. I want to wrap things up with some 5 rapid-fire questions for you, and I promise these won't be too hard for you. I promise. All right, are you ready to go for this?
Not that great at quick thinking, but yeah, we'll try it.
All right, here we go. All right, favorite baseball player growing up?
You might have cut out there. I don't know if I heard that.
All right, no problem, no problem. Favorite baseball player when you were growing up?
Favorite baseball player growing up, Francisco Lindor.
That's a good call. And I noticed on your Twitter, you're a Cleveland guy, so you and I are all right together. All right, you guys had about 17 different ODU baseball game hats. Which one was your favorite?
My favorite was the white top, the black bill, and then I think it was a Panther paw on the front.
Okay, the deep paw on the front. Yeah, the deep paw on the front.
About it. last year we had the hat, but our coach was superstitious because I think we lost like 2 games that we wore it. So it was like never again.
No more sport than baseball that says the most superstitious, no question about it. All right, I mentioned a big family. You're one of 6 kids. You had 3 others that played collegiately. Your dad was a great baseball player. I don't know about your mom, what she did. Who is the best athlete in the family?
Wow. Best athlete in the family. I might be getting some calls and texts about this in our family group chat, but I would say the best overall athlete in the family. I mean, I'm not going to throw myself under the bus, but I'm going to say me.
Wow, there you go. Have confidence in yourself and your abilities, right?
It takes a lot to be able to play football and baseball. So I'm going to just have confidence, whether it be cocky, whether it be confident, we'll settle that at the dinner table.
That's again, you might have to do that here very shortly as well. All right, 2 more. If you're like me and everybody else, you've been going through everything available on Netflix. What's been the best thing or your favorite thing you've watched on Netflix during all this downtime?
Favorite thing I've watched on Netflix. You see, I'm more of a Disney Plus kind of guy. But
okay,
Netflix,
well, it can be Disney. What's been the best thing you've watched, I guess, in the downtime? We'll just go there.
Yeah, we'll go Disney Plus, and right now I'm doing the Avengers Marvel series.
Okay.
And trying to work through all that. I've been wanting to do it for a while, and there's no really better time to do it now. So I'm about halfway through, and I want to say I have to ride with Guardians of the Galaxy so far. I'm about at the Age of Ultron. And the Guardians of the Galaxy are kind of my favorite right now.
Okay. All right. Means nothing to me. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm sure it's great. All right. Finally, lastly, the best person. I'm sure I've heard the music and have no idea what it is. Your best Twitter follow. Who's the best person that you follow on Twitter? Makes you laugh or whatever.
I'm going to shout out to my boy, Joey Machuga.
Okay.
Because I can always rely on him, whether they be funny or completely stupid, to give me something to look at on Twitter. So it's always entertaining to watch that.
The ODU bullpen is a great follow on the Twitter too, right?
Very great follow. And I also recommend that for any great laugh. ODU bullpen is one of our best freaking program liability.
Yep, absolutely. Well, hopefully you're a good follow as well. It's at Tommy_boy014. Certainly happy that you're able to spend some time with us, and hopefully we can all get on a baseball diamond very soon.
Yes, I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me, and hopefully we'll be able to get through all this together.
All right. That is Thomas Staub as we make our trip with the Ohio Dominican baseball program, and that'll wrap up our Panthers Podcast Weekly for this week. Remember, you can find Panthers Podcast Weekly at youtube.com. Search Ohio Dominican Athletics. You also on social media want to follow both Facebook and Twitter, ODU Athletics, for the release of when the next Panthers Podcast Weekly will be available and who the guests will be. Our thanks to Coach Antonides and Thomas Staub for being with us this week. This is Todd Bell reminding you it's always a great day to be a Panther.